Hello friends, my name is Hazy Baby and this is my channel Crochet and Crime, where I crochet while talking about crime. If you're new to my channel, please go check out my other videos. If you're not new to my channel, then I hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe for more content. Today is the 6th of April 2023. Let's get to it. Alright, let's get this started. So a wood chipper murder thought ex-partner's death was an accident. So the barrister for a woman accused of planning her ex-partner's murder via a wood chipper has told Queensland jury she thought his death was an accident. So Sharon Graham, 62, is on trial in Brisbane Supreme Court after pleading not guilty to the 2017 murder of Bruce James Saunders, who was 53 at the time, at a property near Gympie on November 12th. So, Crown Prosecutor Greg Cummings told the jury in his opening comments that Grantham was an hour's drive away from the scene when Saunders was initially killed. But before the day, she had procured a new lover, Gregory Lee Rosseur, to carry out the murder. So basically, long-winded way of saying that she got her boy toy to murder her husband, and is trying to claim that actually it was just an accident. Like, just because I was talking about it doesn't make it so. Oof, people these days. Okay, Cummings told the jurors they would rather hear from Peter John Sholong, who would tell them that he was the only person to see Rozier hit Saunders from behind with a 40 millimeter metal pipe. So he smashed him in the head with a 40 millimeter metal pipe, repeatedly striking the victim's head while he was on the ground. So he was like literally kicking him while he was down. I know, don't you wish you were married to her? He said that Cummings said that Kalong would say that he joined Rosseur in carrying Saunders' lifeless body to a large wood chipper and partially lowering his body into the machinery to make it look like he'd fatally fallen in while clearing trees. Because that's believable, people. So believable. Oof, these people. How can someone do this to another human being, let alone supposedly someone that they loved at some point? I mean, she got her boyfriend to smack him over the head with a frickin' pipe repeatedly, and then got her boyfriend to help her carry his lifeless body to the wood chipper and put it in. Good job. So ultimately it comes down to Graham having manipulated control over three persons, and as a product of that, she stood to gain everything, a very substantial amount of money that she desperately needed from Mr. Saunders, from her husband. So it's the reason why she wanted him killed. Cummings alleged that Graham, who was living on a disability as a disability support person for just over $800 per fortnight, murdered Saunders to inherit his car, house, and $125,000 in superannuation, to a total of $750,000 plus another $750,000 of life insurance. So she got it all. She wanted the car, the house, superannuation, and the life insurance. So she was a greedy bitch, which I suppose just answers my question as to why she didn't just leave him. Because she didn't want him anymore. She just wanted his money. In a brief opening comments for the defence on Thursday, Graham's barrister, Peter Richards, said it was not in dispute that his client was the beneficiary of all of this stuff, including the insurance policies. Ridiculous. So he's saying, well, look, we're not disputing that she was, she had a lot to gain from his death, but it was an accident. Tell your story, Walking Deborah. No one believes you. So Sharon Graham did not ask counsel or produce either Mr. Rossier or Mr. Kinglin. Oh, so wait. So so my story from before was that she got her boyfriend and his friend to kill her husband. Oh, well, that makes more sense now. It just wasn't written properly and I was so uber confused. So she got two dudes to murder her husband while she built herself an alibi. And so she could claim that it was an accident and she had nothing to do with it. I see. I get it now. I get it. So as far as she was concerned, Mr. Saunders had died as a result of an accident. And one of the principal issues in this trial is that the credibility and reliability of the two men who say that she paid them. The trial is due to run for another 16 hearing days before Justice Peter Callahan. So I think she went for a judge trial only, not a jury. So that is quite interesting. I mean, it's definitely an interesting twist. Helps if you read it properly to start with, but yeah, I was uber confused. I was like, how did she have an alibi and she was there? I'm confused. No, so she was there. She wasn't there, sorry. Her new boy toy and his bait were there. And they're saying that they killed him. And she's saying she had nothing to do with it. She doesn't know what they're talking about. And it was just an accident. Okay, moving on to the next story. All right, so this next story is about police officers who shot a mentally ill man. But apparently they weren't wearing body cams. So tactical officers did not wear body cameras when they fatally shot a mentally ill man at the end of a 9-hour police standoff. So an inquest has been told. So Todd Mackenzie, who had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, was shot 3 times after a siege on the New South Wales mid-north coast in 2019. Police were called to the Tari property over concerns for his welfare. Well, clearly, someone was concerned about him, and it wasn't the police. The Tari court was told that Mackenzie, 40, had been suffering from a mental episode that had caused him to have paranoid delusions around people entering his home. Oh, great. So send a whole tactical team in. Well done. I can see you were brilliant in your planning. Poor dude. So he picked up a knife and walked around the neighborhood before neighbors called the police to conduct a welfare check. So he wasn't even hurting anyone. He was just, I mean, he had the potential to hurt someone, sure, but he just needed help, and that's all his neighbors would have been trying to do. So the inquest have previously viewed body cam footage from the first responders. General Duties Officer, which show Senior Constable Glenn Larkin mocking Mackenzie and challenging him to a fight. I mean, this guy sounds like a twat muffin, and I hope he gets into a lot of trouble. The police officer. This mental illness is a real thing, and we should be respecting people with mental illness, not laughing at them and challenging them to fisticuffs. However, the tactical police units who stormed Mackenzie's apartment and shot him just happened to not be wearing body cams. Interesting. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I'd say, I wonder why that is. So, looks like they have some explaining to do. Under previous questioning, one of the senior constables involved said obviously the tactical guys wanted all body-worn switched off. Deputy State Coroner Harriet Graham asked one of the tactical officers why the unit doesn't use body-worn video. Yeah, why don't you? Officer T1 said that the team did not want tactics being given out, and inadvertently it always seems to get out on social media. So they're saying that if they don't record it at all, then it can't get leaked. So they're claiming privacy reasons. But it has a flow-on effect, with tacticals, equipment, positioning, and so forth. That's what he said on Thursday anyway. This is the tactical offer. As a result, the inquest has had to rely on purely the recounts from the tactical officers, including Officer T1, who claimed he knew the situation was going to get ugly when Mackenzie snared at them. So that's reason to shoot someone, because he snared at him. Ridiculous. I'm getting angrier and angrier reading this. The 40-year-old started walking towards them while concealing his knife. Other police officers who could see the weapon from the side yelled for him to drop it. I mean, but that's bringing a gun to a knife fight. Surely they could have wounded him. Why did they need to shoot him? Like dead. T1 fired his taser at Mackenzie, who fell to the ground. So he's tasered as well. But the officer said it only kept him down briefly. Yeah, because he's schizophrenic, so he's like hocked up on, adrenaline. It bounced straight off him, apparently. He was off the ground extremely quickly, he said. T1 said that Mackenzie started lunging at the police, and at one point he could feel the wind pass from the knife. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Okay, still brings me back to my main point as to why they couldn't have just shot him in the leg or the shoulder or, I don't know, a non-fatal place. So Mackenzie started attacking Tactical Officer T2 before T1 told the others to shoot. I thought T2 was gonna die, he justified. I'm still not satisfied he would have sustained an extremely horrific injury to his face and probably would have killed him, is what T1 had said in regards to T2. Which is, I mean, if you've ever seen a tactical unit, they're wearing some pretty, heavy blown armor. So Mackenzie started to attack T2, and then that's when T1 told them to shoot him. And the National Justice Project, representing Mackenzie's mother and stepfather, has called for the New South Wales Police to use body-worn cameras at all times, and I kind of agree. Todd was not a terrorist. He didn't have any hostages. In fact, Todd was alone in his own home when New South Wales Police turned off their body cams in a life and death situation, and he died. The New South Wales Police must mandate the use of body cameras at all times as a vital tool for accountability and learning. I agree, because hindsight's 2020. Accidents happen, people get heated, all of that jazz, and it will be really important that we held ourselves accountable, as a country, and also just, surely there was a way to de-escalate that situation and not escalate it. It's not like he was holding anyone else hostage, just himself. I just feel really sorry for them, and I hope that they get justice for their son and his death. So this next one is an update on Jared Haynes's bail. They have continued to allow him to have bail after a rape conviction. So Jared Haynes was allowed to spend Easter. He's been allowed to spend Easter at home with his family after being found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault. At a hearing today, the former NRL player argued he should be able to remain on bail while he awaits his sentencing. After many hours of hearing the argument, Justice Graham Turnbull said he wouldn't rush into a decision on what he described to be a hotly contested matter. So, like I said, I've only been doing these videos for about 5 days or 6 days now, and I think I've talked about Jared Haynes probably about 3 times now. This will be the 3rd time I'm talking about him. So I can appreciate the judge wanting to take into consideration all the aspects of this case before allowing to end continuance of bail, because everyone will want to have a say about it. So earlier, Haynes's barrister, Margaret Keenan SC, argued he has too high of a profile to go to jail just yet. His wife faces the prospect of continuing to live off her husband's savings from his successful sporting career when he eventually does enter custody. I mean, boo-hoo to you, love. Sorry, but your husband raped someone and he deserves to be punished. Get a job. So Cunning called Haynes's wife to the witness box in the New South Wales District Court and argued that they were special or exceptional circumstances that should keep him out of jail until he is sentenced. The 35-year-old fallen NRL star was found guilty on Tuesday of 2 counts of sexual intercourse without consent after sexually assaulting a woman on the night of 2018's NRL Grand Final. His wife cried when asked if she and Haynes are married since 2021 and have 3 children. She was asked what the next few weeks would mean for her and her family without her husband around. I can't even put it into words, she said. Sorry, I just think this is pathetic. She told the court that her family had been living off her husband's savings, and as he has not had any paid employment since he's been charged. Well, I hate to tell you there, lovey, but the rest of us, we go get jobs. And people are going to say, oh yeah, but you wouldn't know. Yes, I would. I've got children. I know what it's like. I know how hard it is. Get a job. Honestly, nothing's stopping you from getting a job. They will continue to do so while Haynes is in custody. Well, he must have a fair bit of savings then, she said. The 2-time Dally M medal winner needs to be around to support and physically protect his family. Get a guard dog. As they move out of Sydney before he returns to jail. She told the judge, "It would be so oppressive to take this man from his family while these arrangements are being made. Oh, this is like Crimea River. Seriously, during his last sentencing, Haynes had been segregated from the other inmates because of his high-profile status. A taxi waited outside as he played the woman's songs on a laptop and watched the end of the grand final with her mother performing non-consensual oral and digital sex on the woman for about 30 seconds before they cleaned blood off themselves, and Haynes continued on his journey to Sydney. Cunning said that special or exceptional circumstances, including unrelated media pressure on her famous client's case, and the need for support for his family should continue Haynes's bail. She argued to Turnbull the circumstances in Haynes's case would prevent the judge from being bound by recent charges of the Bail Act, which aims for people found guilty who will be going to prison to be taken into custody before they are sentenced. And I kind of feel like, regardless of your status, you should have to suffer the consequences just like everybody else. I mean, everyone else has to suffer the consequences, so should you, right? Like that makes sense. But whatever. And Turnbull said, he's going to jail. Sorry, my dog is barking. That's enough, Letty. Calm down. I'm doing a video. Hop down. Where was I? Yes. So the judge said he's going to jail. Reports will need to be prepared before Haynes is sentenced, and the judge is considering whether Haynes should be allowed to remain at large until then. This particular offender would be a target in the general prison population. And I kind of agree with them there. My problem at the moment, though, is that I feel like he should be treated exactly how everybody else is treated, right? Like, he shouldn't get special circumstances just because he happened to be very good at playing football at some point. I mean, if you're going to be a jerk enough to sort of figure that stuff out, then, you know, you should also figure out other stuff, if that makes sense. If you're going to be pricky enough to sexually assault someone, then you should suffer the consequences. The judge says his problem is at the moment he's not going to be sentenced as a prisoner. He's going to be remanded as a prisoner. So the Crown prosecutor said that this happens all the time, and special or exceptional circumstances raised by Cunningham were not covered by legislation. As it comes down to the offender of a high-profile footballer, the trial between March was Haynes' third on the charges laid in November 2018 following a referral to the police by the NRL's Integrity Unit. Again, I said this yesterday and I'll say it again. Gotta love that unit. Haynes previously spent 9 months in prison after a jury in his second trial found him guilty, a verdict overturned on appeal due to profoundly wrong legal directions, and the jury of the first trial was discharged after being unable to reach a verdict. But this one was able to reach a verdict on Tuesday. Yeah. Okay, so this next video is about 2 teenage boys who have been arrested at a regional property after a woman was stabbed to death in Melbourne. So 2 teenage boys have been arrested after an Abbotsford woman was allegedly stabbed to death in an inner city home in Melbourne. The boys, aged 14 and 15, were found after a significant search in Lourmouth, about 135 kilometres from where the woman was found with stab wounds in Abbotsford last night. So the 31-year-old woman later died in hospital, which is, that's so young. The 13-year-old boy, who police said was the woman's son, was at the house at the time of the alleged attack, but he was not injured and is speaking to police. So at least someone survived, I suppose. As tragic as that is. The 2 arrested teens were seen in a car at St Kilda Junction at 11:20 last night, before the abandoned SUV was found in a nearby street at 7:30 a.m. this morning, after what appears to have been a crash. So police said one of the boys is linked to the Lourmouth property, but would not detail any of relationship between them and the victim. They are not known to police, and investigators are not looking for any other suspects. The boys are currently being interviewed. So that's absolutely tragic. and I hope to give you more updates on that story as they evolve. So I just turned my light on because today is getting a little bit darker because I've gone a little bit later in the day with these videos. So we'll see how we go. Like I said, I'm still new, I'm still learning, so please bear with me. So a pair have been charged with the murder after a missing dad identified as a body concealed in a bunker. That was a very weird statement. Okay, 2 men have been charged with the murder of the father of 2. Do you remember the father of 2 I was talking about yesterday who was missing, and then they went to this property, they found a body in a pit, and they didn't identify him as the father of 2 because the body was just so, degraded at this point and bloated. But, yeah, they have identified him as the body in the pit. So the 2 men have been charged with the murder of the father of 2 when his body was found in a bunker in South Australia. So murder charges were laid against the 19-year-old and a 46-year-old today, with the latter also facing an offence of concealing human remains. So Steve Murphy's body was found in a pit under the shed in Kildara, north of Adelaide, on Tuesday after significant excavation following a tip-off. The 38-year-old had been missing for about 6 weeks and had been last seen camping in a swag near the area. Police allegedly found cannabis plants, a rifle, ammunition, and other things, apparently, at the property where the body was found. So the 46-year-old had already been charged with drugs and firearm offences. That's the owner of the house. And both men have now been refused bail and are remanded in custody to appear in Adelaide Magistrates Court at a later date. Okay, so I think that this camera with this light on looks much, much better. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Okay, earlier on in this series, I was talking about a man who attacked another man with a large knife. Has now actually been named for what it is. So a Queensland man killed in alleged unprovoked samurai sword attack, which actually sounds much better than a large knife. A Queensland man's hand was allegedly cut off using a samurai sword in an unprovoked attack. A 25-year-old man from Dubbo has been charged against him and it has now been upgraded to murder today. So he was just severely injured and in hospital a couple of days ago when I first read this story, but unfortunately he has died. So before the 56-year-old sustained crucial injuries to his hand, a dispute broke out over a set of car keys. What a stupid reason to die, a set of car keys. An unprovoked attack occurred as a result of the 25-year-old man demanding car keys, Detective Sergeant Paul McCulster said. The accused killer's mother has been in distress but assisted police since the sad domestic violence-related incident, is what she was quoted to saying. She is going to do the best she can to be the best person she can. It's obvious that it's a very traumatic event. So the 25-year-old was arrested on Sunday at a service station on the Gore Highway in Captain Mountains after leaving his mother's home and has been remanded to custody and will appear in Toowoomba's Magistrate Court later today. So absolutely sad and absolutely tragic that that poor man died after having his hand chopped off with a samurai. Talk about torture. This next story comes out of Melbourne after a man has been charged for $40 million worth of meth seized in a food shipment. So a man has been arrested, in a drug raid that led to more than $40 million worth of methamphetamine being seized from a shipping container in Melbourne. The 43-year-old man was charged yesterday after the Australian Border Force officers discovered 500 litres of methamphetamine worth $41.6 million in a shipping container labelled food products. Police said the Melbourne man was allegedly linked to organised crime in the Middle East and will face Melbourne's Magistrate Court today. So the drugs were found in a plastic barrel of white vinegar imported into Melbourne from Turkey on February 8th. According to police, the vinegar bottles were packaged into a larger shipment of food products, originally sent from northern Iraq to Turkey before arriving in Melbourne. Officers identified that the 25 barrels of consignment, each containing 20 litres of liquid, contained liquid methamphetamine. The Australian Federal Defence Superintendent Anthony Hall said the seizure demonstrated the importance of the collaboration between law enforcement partners. He said the AFP will continue to work tirelessly with partners to disrupt the distribution attempts by organised crime to import large quantities of illicit drugs into Australia. And I say, good job, guys, good job. The illicit drug supply chain is littered with violence. And had this amount of methamphetamine made its way to Australian streets, it would have been spread through our suburbs, fueling more violence and more crime and more drug addiction, Hall said. Countless lives and families would have been horrendously affected. I would argue they're still being horrendously affected, because just because they caught the drugs doesn't mean the drug dealers and drug people aren't, still seeking said drugs. Anyway, the 43-year-old man was arrested and charged after AFP investigators executed a search warrant in his, at his home. The man was charged with importing a commercial quantity of border-controlled drugs and attempting to possess a commercial quantity of border-controlled drugs. So I don't understand the difference between those two things, but apparently, because they must have intercepted it and then sent it on its merry way, and it mustn't have been actual drugs that they sent it with, just in case. That makes sense. But yeah, they are the charges that have been laid, and I'm glad they have gotten all of those drugs off the streets. Okay, so this next one is about women. Well, actually specifically about girls being violent. And I've heard this many times where people talk about boys being violent and men being violent, and they rarely talk about women being violent. But women can be violent as well. And this story is a prime example of that. So young girls have been charged with the alleged attack of another teenage girl. So a teenage girl was punched, kicked, and kneed by two other girls in a prolonged assault in Canberra. So footage of the alleged forcible confinement and prolonged violent assault was given to the police after they were directed towards an injured girl near a fast food restaurant in the northern suburbs yesterday. She suffered multiple injuries and was taken to hospital, while police arrested two girls aged 11 and 14 in their homes. Yes, you heard that correctly, 11. The video showed the two girls confining a third girl before they repeatedly punched, kicked, and kneed the girl, the ACT police said in a statement. They allegedly threatened the girl with further violence if she came forward about the attack, which is, usually attackers' MO. The 11-year-old and the 14-year-old have both been charged with assault occasioning bodily harm, joint commission in forcible confinement, and the threatening and participation of a criminal investigation, police said. So hopefully they'll be charged as actual adults, because I don't think they're going to. They will face the ACT Children's Court later today, and police are appealing for any witness to come forward. I really, really hope that these kids, and I say it so loosely, get some very harsh penalties for the way that they have been behaving. Because that is absolutely disgusting. 11 and 14. Wow. So not only are they girls, but they're young as well. Violent, violent, violent children. Okay, this one is kind of an upbeat story. So police have shut down a website selling logins from hacked Australians. So 10 Australians have been arrested and charged as part of an international police sting targeting a website selling stolen account logins. So the invite-only website, which about 70,000 people have access to, offered login credentials, browsing history, and autofill form data and other sensitive data taken from hacked devices. The number of Australian victims on this website, called the Genesis Market, are still being calculated, but it looks like it's about 36,000 Australian devices have been compromised, and their logins have been available for sale on this website. So the Australian Federal Police said that this is now the new normal for our communities, with the cyber impacts of having real-world impacts on people in their homes. It's kind of like a modern burglary. Lee said the hackers were using a form of malware to target people's computers and other devices. So don't just think it's computers, it's also, whether it's your phone, your laptop, or your tablet, the malware then extracts your browser history, any cookies that you may have on your device, any passwords that might be related to your bank account, and your social media accounts. All those types of things, Lee said. Now, this is the advice that I have. You should never have the same two passwords. You should always set up a sort of two-factor sort of authentication. I believe that ExpressVPN and things like that are absolutely a wonderful thing to have on your phone, on your internet, on your computer. I am not sponsored by them. I just happen to agree that it works really, really well. Two-factor authentication, like I said. And yeah, just be wary, clear your history, clear cookies, all that jazz. Your phone is essentially a mini computer these days, so just make sure you're doing all of that kind of stuff. So once these are extracted and they're placed on the marketplace for sale, people can purchase and seek to use these credentials to compromise people and to gain access to their bank accounts and other services that they can use for fraud purposes. So Lee said that there is no link between the Genesis Market and the larger upscale sort of hacking, data hacking in Australia, but there has been other hackings that have happened in Australia recently, Optus, Medicare, Latitude. So we just really need to be super, super careful and super vigilant. At the time it was taken offline, Genesis Market offered access to more than 1.5 million compromised computers, each containing information from a dozen accounts, including logins for companies such as Netflix and Amazon. One of the administrators of the website was believed to have been operating out of Russia, while another is located in Asia, according to the FBI. The Victorian man, who police will allege is the most prolific purchaser of compromised information in Australia, was among the 10 arrested by the AFP and state detectives locally. The Box Hill man, 31, is accused of spending more than $56,500 purchasing information from websites. The Dutch police have developed a portal to help determine if your personal details have been compromised. So if you would like to check yours, go to www.polite.ni/check-your-hack to determine if your details were available on the Genesis Market. Okay, so this next story is kind of just really sad, as Australians have been, trying to deal with the cost of living. And it's biting people, it's biting hard. So Aussies have been trawling through the trash to get groceries as the cost of living bites. Every week for the past 4 years, a Victorian mum who goes by the name of Betty Bin Chicken, I just love that, ventures out after the shops have closed and rakes through their trash. Like many Australian families, the 39-year-old was struggling with the rising cost of living and was inspired to see what was being thrown away with the intention to use the discarded products to feed her family. Betty told Nine News that she saved thousands of dollars on groceries. However, supermarkets have warned that food in bins is not fit for human consumption, and it's not. A lot of companies donate the foods that are fit for consumption to places like Oz Harvest and Second Bite and other companies like that, which feed the homeless. So if it's in a bin, then it's more than likely not fit for human consumption, and it could kill you. So I highly recommend not dumpster diving. But apparently this Betty Bin Chicken has spent the last few years doing it for her family. I wouldn't risk it, to be honest. And she gets at least a bootload every night. So Betty is what's known as a dumpster diver, like I was saying before. It's coined from an American term, a dumpster being a brand of giant movable bin. But Betty rifles through rubbish to find food and other products thrown away by supermarkets and other shops, such as chemists and homeware stores. Oh, chemists, do not take stuff out of the bins of the chemist. Oh my God. As well as unearthing food both within and past the sell-by dates and goods subject to recall. She also has taken home everything from dozens of bottles of Barocca to brand new Betty and even a gazebo. So she posts videos of her hauls to YouTube where some of the American dumpster divers have hundreds of thousands of followers. Betty reckons as long as she sticks to the bins, which aren't locked and don't have any no trespassing signs belonging to the council or involve trespassing on private property, she's doing nothing wrong. However, police say people who take items from bins can be prosecuted for crimes including theft and trespassing. Betty said that most times she's been approached by shop workers while targeting their bins. It's to check to see if she's actually not filling them up with rubbish, not taking rubbish out. It's true, because it costs lots of money to put stuff in there. When she says she wants to take items, they say, leave her to it. So basically they're saying, don't worry about her, she's crazy. Once the police have been called, but she told Nine News that they let her carry on. The police weren't very sure, and she said if she's not hurting anyone, just leave her be. The mother of one who does some cleaning work admits coming across a bin full of discarded food gives her a rush. Of course, she's high on it. It's kind of like Christmas, she said. Of course it is. But Betty, who fed her family first, then passes the rest of what she finds on to friends and neighbours and homeless people, said it's not always a pleasant endeavour. She found herself standing in bins full of used syringes. See, that's so dangerous. And also contained human waste. Super dangerous. But you've got to be really careful. Oh, honey, no, it's not worth the risk. It's really not worth it. Honestly, saving a couple $100 is not worth your life. Oh, well, a grandfather also does it. So a grandfather rummages through bins at night. So Western Australian man Brendan Ricannon, who's 53, said that he's been foraging and rummaging for most of his life. The Perth grandfather attracts thousands of views on YouTube channel Bin Living with Big B, which shows him venture into rubbish bins belonging to big stores in the dark. He has found everything from camping gear to toys and Easter eggs to watches in bins, as well as groceries. His most popular video sees him grabbing discarded beer, dozens of boxes of eggs, meat, and fresh veg. A security guard approaches him in the video and merely tells him to be safe. He admits that what he does is illegal, but claims his interaction with the police have always been positive. Yeah, because the police don't care that you're stealing it. The police care that you're going to get hurt. There could be needles or anything in that bin. Oh my God, this is so terrifying. What makes it illegal is the entering the private properties and damaging people's properties. So neither of these people are doing that. And if he asked to leave it, he said he does. Plus, he always cleans up after himself. It's not like he just jumps in the bin, throws all the shit out he doesn't want, and then just, moves on his merry way. He said he's been bin diving, and it's become quite popular in Australia with the cost of living and the crisis, the cost of living crisis. But he says not all that he unearths is treasures. When I started, I was going out every day, and only 10% of bins would have anything in it. I mean, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I just really couldn't. What supermarkets say about dumpster diving. So Coles said that it discourages people from trying to get items from the bins for health and safety reasons. Last financial year, we donated 18.2 tons of unsold edible food to food rescue organisations such as, like I said before, Second Bite and a hunger relief charity called Food Bank. Woolworths Group says that their bins are generally locked, which they are, unless they're managed by a shopping centre, when they might not be, but they are under surveillance. It says that you're not allowed to give away out-of-date food, but it works with organisations including Oz Harvest and Wires to get items that cannot be sold to people and or animals. We've set ourselves a goal to divert 100% of food waste to landfill, away from landfill till 2025, a spokesperson said. So Aldi also aims to send nothing to landfill by 2025 and works with charities such as Food Bank and, again, Oz Harvest. The only food that should be in our bins is food that is not fit for human consumption. Therefore, people should not be dumpster diving as it's a safety risk, and I kind of agree with that. I agree that it's a huge safety risk. So, apparently there's rules on dumpster diving. So, both Western Australia and New South Wales police have told Nine that people taking items from bins could be accused with trespassing and stealing. The Queensland Police said that it would consider complaints from owners of properties as well as possible trespass offences. And the South Australian Police have said, not only is it illegal to take items from residential and council or commercial bins or a skip, but it's super dangerous. And I agree, that's where I'm drawing the line. I'm drawing a line, not that it's super gross, because, ew. It wouldn't always be, but, 9 times out of 10, you think it would be. But because it's super dangerous, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about these people getting stuck by a needle or, waiting around in human waste. Ew. Disgusting. Disgusting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta-da! Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. All right, that's enough about bins, I think, today. Alrighty, this very last story for today is pretty funny one. Funny in that only in Australia would this happen. So there's an urgent appeal after a platypus has been taken from the wild and shown on a train, only in Australia. So police in Queensland are appealing for a platypus which has been believed to have been taken from the wild and needs to be urgently taken to a vet and handed over to officers. So 2 people have been seen boarding a train and showing the animal to passengers about 11 a.m. yesterday at Morayfield in Moreton Bay. The pair was seen with the animal wrapped in a towel and patting it and showing it to fellow commuters. It's believed that they travelled towards Caboolture. Hold on, give me a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and into there. 10. Of course they were. So Caboolture Police and the Queensland Department of Environment and Science feared that the animal could die if not given immediate veterinarian help. The animal may become sick or be diseased or die if it's out of the wild or the area in which it may not live, because it might not feed if it's introduced to a new environment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it also has venomous spurs, which can cause significant injury to people and animals. So the animal's timely surrender will ensure its welfare and also the welfare of the people who have it. So unlawfully taking and keeping a platypus, which is an endangered species in some parts of Australia, is an offence that carries a maximum fine of $431,250. So if you know where this poor little platypus is, please make anonymous reports to Police Link on 131 444. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, that is it for me today, guys, and I bid you adieu. I hope I see you tomorrow. Goodbye for now. I think I like this light for sure. It'll definitely be a thing that I do each time. Don't you love my nails? Ooh, pretty. Well, except that one, which is infected. Ew, but it always has been. I don't know why. It's a naughty, naughty nail. It's a naughty finger, that's for sure. Okay. Anyway, I digress. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for visiting my channel, and I hope to see you later from one Australian to another. Have a wonderful day.